Welcome to Dundrell's podcast. I'm your host, Justin. Today, for Fantasy Month, we're reviewing one of my favorite anime of all time, and that is Record of Lodoss War, which aired on TV from 1990 through 1991. This is a 13-episode OVA series. OVA means original video animation, right? It was made by MADHOUSE, J.C. Staff, Dr. Movie. A bunch of studios worked on this movie, right? And this show is based off. I'm not exactly sure what came first, but there was like a fantasy book series, which I read the first book in the series, right? Haven't it's not I don't have a review for it on the channel. It was before I did this YouTube channel, and there was tabletop RPG, right? That was supposed to be like Japan's version of Dungeons and Dragons, right? So right away watching the show, it just screams how superior it is to modern day fantasy anime, where the art style and a lot of modern day fantasy anime is garbage. There's video game MMORPG nonsense. Here, when you watch the show, right away you can feel the inspiration that this show was like inspired by Western fantasy books and movies and whatnot, including Lord of the Rings. The first episode of this show, it very much feels like the part in Lord of the Rings where they're traversing Helm's Deep, right? Which the first episode, the series like time skips to later on, later on in the show. It's like episode 4 or 5. This episode would take place in, where you see our characters already together, and they're traversing through this abandoned dwarven underground city on their way to Wart, the sage, right? To find out what's the evil scheme of Carla the Grey Witches, right? Where in that episode, you see them get separated and have to fight a dragon, a red dragon. In the first episode, they have a red dragon. Which the story for this show takes place in a fantasy world where you have like two goddesses. One obviously light, which is like Martha, and the other one's dark, which is Karsus, who waged war and split the world and created the continent of Lodoss, which is where our heroes live, right? So not the first episode, but like the second episode, you get introduced to our main character Parn, who is the son of exiled knight, whose father was disgraced, right? Which you find out later in the show that it was like kind of like a heroic sacrifice, because he was part of this order of knights that worked under the king, and the king, because of some treaty, had to give his daughter away. And Parn's father went rogue to bring back the king's daughter, right? So the main character of the show is Parn, who's a young man who wants to be a hero someday, just like his father, redeem the family name, right? And his village is under the threat of goblins, right? Which in the book, right, Parn and his cleric friend Ito go into a goblin cave to kill the goblins. Here it's different, where it's like during broad daylight, goblins attacked a girl, and Parn was trying to chase them off, but ended up accidentally killing one of them, and that causes an uproar with the village, because the goblins are going to come back for revenge. Never mind the daughter of the mayor he saved. Yeah, so what ends up happening is that he meets up with his cleric friend Ito, right? And they go to try to take out the goblins, but the goblins are gone, and they attack the goblins attack the village, right? Where Slain, a human mage, and Gwyn, an old dwarf, team up with Parn and Ito to fight the goblins. After which, it's revealed that that something must have caused the goblins to go on an outrage, to attack, right? Like some evil influence, right? So Parn and his friends go on this adventure through Lodoss to find out what's going on with the world, right? Where they meet up with D-Lit, the High Elf, who immediately has a crush on Parn, and they also team up with Woodchuck, the thief, right? Who is like a middle-aged man who, in the book, was in prison for like 20 years for petty theft. Here, it's just that he wasn't in prison that long. They find out on their journey. They find out that the world is going through chaos because the Great Witch Carla, who's this immortal witch whose soul is trapped in the circlet, possesses the body of a young priestess, right? Who is the daughter of a friend of Gwyn, who was on a journey to look for the daughter for his friend, right? Which I forget her name, but like, but yeah, she joins the party later on in the show. So like, at first, the main villain of the show is Carla, the Great Witch, who is manipulating events behind the scene to cause war between King Fawn, who is the wielder of the Holy Sword of Lodoss, and Beld, who was the wielder of the Demon Sword Soul Crusher, right? Who is the leader of the Kingdom of Marmo, which is like this cursed land, who has like an army of like goblins, dark elves, kobolds under his command, right? And his underlings are Ashram, the Black Knight, who becomes the rival of Parn, and the evil wizard Wagnar, who becomes like one of the final villains of the show. Right. So that's the story. Basically, our characters have to fight the Grey Witch. Then they have to fight like an evil red dragon, right? And then at the end of the show, they have to fight the evil Wagnard, who's trying to resurrect the evil goddess Karsus, right? And Parn has to have one last duel with Ashram, right? So I watched the English dub for this show, and yeah, the English dub for older anime can be like kind of bad, but I thought, besides from a few voice actors, overall the cast did a great job, especially Ashram's voice actor. Wagnard's Gim was great. D-Lit was good. King Cashew was good. Which Chris Yates also was the voice of King Cashew, and also voiced Orson. Yeah, because like we lose some party members along the way, but others joined later. Like Orson Lelia, I think it was Lelia, right? Or was that no, that's the priestess, my bad, who becomes Slane's girlfriend later on in the show. So first off, let's get into my likes and dislikes. Animation is fantastic, especially in the first couple episodes. Though in some episodes the action's not that great. Because it's a OVA series, so they have a limited budget. But like overall, I thought the animation when it mattered looked great. Like, really beautiful backgrounds, beautiful creatures, like the shading and the details on the weapons and armor, everything looked fantastic. Especially the character designs and the creature designs looked great. The dragons in this fucking movie, sorry, in this show, were fucking fantastic, man. All of them looked great. And there's like a scene where you see them side by side, and it's like you have like a black dragon, red dragon, a blue dragon, a gold dragon, and it reminded me of the fucking dragons from that Yu-Gi-Oh, that one filler arc of Yu-Gi-Oh where they have to go into this like fantasy world MMO, and there's like 5 evil dragons, right? Was like the final boss or whatever. They totally got that from fucking this show. Right? Yu-Gi-Oh totally ripped off this show. Which, if you ever read the Yu-Gi-Oh manga, there was parts and that of the manga where they played D&D, right? So like the show aesthetics looked great. The music was fucking amazing. The music is, I know people talk about how much they preferred like the Yoko Kanno music that for the TV series, because there was a Record of Lodoss War TV series that came later called what was it called, the Legend of the Heroic Knight or some shit, which I couldn't watch because like the first half of that show is them doing like a soft reboot of the second half of the OVA series, right? Which was like, what the fuck? That was like bullshit, right? They should have just made it a straight fucking sequel. But if they had done that, I guess Parn would have had to been killed off or some shit. Because they had the new main characters called Sparky, who was voiced by Crispin Freeman. I don't know that story, that bullshit. Yeah, like the aesthetics, the music, because the music very much, it's like a mix between Within Temptation and like Blackmore Night, which Blackmore Night, for people who don't know, was like it's like Renaissance folk rock. It's very much something you would listen to while reading fantasy books, right? Yeah, like the music is fucking fantastic. Alright. My only problem with this OVA series is that Porn kind of it's not until like the end of the series where Porn kind of becomes a badass, and he doesn't even beat the bad guy. It was more like the two bad guys were fighting each other, and they kind of took each other out, and like Parn was left to like save the do the rest. But overall, I thought that was good. It was a good job, right? And I did see some like continuity problems where like the sizing of shit kind of changes, but overall I don't really have any problems other than like would have been nice if there were more episodes where the companions were together, because it's pretty much once they take care of Carla, they pretty much separate, right? And it's not, and like there was like brief moments where they came back. So kind of wish there was more like time with our characters, like hanging out together. And then one major problem I have with this story, they defeat Carla, but Carla comes back with a new body, and it's the body of one of their friends. You would think at some point our heroes would have been like, we gotta go rescue Woodchuck, because Woodchuck was a pretty cool character, and his body gets taken over, and they know all they have to do is take the circlet off, and nobody goes, hey, we need to go rescue Woodchuck. I know they had to deal with, like, you know, the dragon and then Marmo coming back, but it was like, holy fuck, dude. But overall, you know, it's a good. Overall, I enjoy. This is one of my favorite anime series of all time. This is one of the best fantasy animes of all time, even better than Berserk in my opinion. But yeah, like, if you're a fan of old school classic fantasy, you need to watch this show. 9 out of 10. Peace.